And I figured I'm gonna be working on this anyways. Why not? Why not go live and see if anyone wants to hang out? All right. Let me just post. I'm just gonna post a link on my Facebook here. See if anyone wants to hang out. Let me see. Facebook here. See if anyone wants to hang out. Facebook here. See if anyone wants to. Okay, this is my first time using YouTube streaming, so you're gonna have to bear with me. If you are there, if anyone's there, let me know in the chat. Say hi. Let me know if the audio's okay. I have no idea. Looks like I'm capturing. Might be a little quiet. Much maxed out. I don't know if there's anything else I can do. I hope it's okay. All right, well, I'm gonna get started. Right, I said I was gonna post this, didn't I? Well, looks like one person decided to join. If you're there, hello, welcome to my first ever game dev live stream. Feel free to say hello in the chat. Let me know where you're watching from. If you have any questions, there's not much to look at right now, but if you have any questions about, game development, what I'm doing, what you're looking at right now, feel free to let me know. So I'm actually, I've been working on this game for about a month now. I'll just talk about it a little bit while I make this post here. I've been working on this game for about a month, maybe a little less than a month. It's a rhythm game. It's still a prototype, so it's still definitely rough around the edges. And it's actually inspired by an old Nintendo DS game called Daigasso Bando Brazas. It was only released in Japan for the Nintendo DS. There was a sequel for the DS as well, which was localized to Europe, but never made it stateside to Canada or to the United States. Which is a shame because it was one of my favorite games and it taught me so much about music, especially playing music. Basically, it was a DS game, so I've got it right here on my old DS. And you basically, it had a multiplayer mode, so you basically picked an instrument from any of the songs that were in there. And if you were playing alone, you would pick a part. For example, you play the piano or the saxophone or the trumpet or the ocarina, and all the other parts would just play automatically for you or with you. And you would use, you'd use your DS controller. I'm using a Xbox One controller, but essentially your buttons would, you'd play basically a scale using your buttons. And in the end, you would be able to play music. which was super cool because you would also be able to play multiplayer with this game. And most songs have at least 3 or 4 parts, up to 8 parts. And if you had 8 people, you could play every single part of that song together, and you would hear the other people playing. If they played wrong, you'd hear the wrong notes. So it really felt like you were performing as part of a band, which I really, really liked. And I played it in high school, and I played it a lot in high school, and I enjoyed it more than I enjoyed actual band class. So for me, it was just like playing a game, but I didn't realize it at the time, but I was learning music while I was doing that. You were learning rhythm, you're learning scales, you're learning like timing, proper timing, playing in time with the rest of the band. So super cool skills to learn, and really fun game. Okay, so I still haven't posted this link. I'm just trying to find the share link. YouTube here. Okay, give me a second. Okay, I found my channel. It says I'm live. So if I copy this, that should be what I need. Make a little post about it. So in a little bit, I think I'll do a quick little demo of kind of how the game works. Like I said, I have been working on it for about a month now, so it's not completely brand new, so you won't see it from the ground up. But it is still quite early in development, so a lot of things are still missing, and it partially works right now. So I did a bunch of work last night. I basically, if anyone's a software engineer, you'll know about refactoring code. And basically, when I made the prototype, I wrote it in a way that is not the most forward-thinking, so not very scalable, not very easy to read, and you're definitely going to see that today. I'm not a professional software engineer by any stretch of the imagination, so please do know that. I am a quality assurance engineer currently by trade. I also have design experience, professional design experience. I do not have professional software engineering experience, so I'm self-taught, so everything you're going to see today is just what I've learned. So bear with me as I struggle through this. Okay, so I think maybe the best, well, let's wait a little bit, see if anyone else joins up, and I'll give it a little demo. Okay, so for now, you know what, I'll do it now. Okay, so in that case, I won't play through Unity. I'm just going to boot up the last build that I made. So currently I'm building this using the Unity engine, and I've currently built it for PC, for Mac, and I've also deployed it to Android. So I've had it working on Android PC. I haven't personally seen it on Mac because I don't have a Mac. I mean, I do have a MacBook, but it's old and I don't feel like digging it out. So I haven't seen it personally running on Mac, but it should work just fine. Okay, so let me boot up my latest demo. Okay. Whoops. So this is just a build that I deployed from Unity. Now, actually, now that I think about it, it might be... I probably shouldn't play... These are test songs, so when I ship this game, if I do ship it, it will not ship with any copyright material, such as what you see in front of you. I probably shouldn't play these on stream. I will very likely get a copyright claim for that. So I'll do a tutorial. So this is a pretty simple tutorial, and this will give you an idea of kind of how the game works. So I'll just read it. So this tutorial will teach you the basics of how to make music using your controller as an instrument. Press the start button when you're ready. Let me just open up, make sure if anyone's chatting. So stop me at any moment if you have any questions. All right, so again, I'm using an Xbox One controller. So when you hear me playing, it's because I'm pressing buttons on here. All right, so I'll hit the start button. Ah! Of course. Okay, I can't use this build. So there was a bug on that build, which didn't occur on the Unity project, only once I built it. So let me open up the previous build. Oh, so great. So great. Okay. Ah, no, this is the only song I can't play. Oh no. Okay, I'll tell you what. I will do the tutorial here in the editor. We're off to a fantastic start, you guys. Oh, what did I click? That is not what I meant to do. Okie dokie, I'm gonna hit the tutorial button. All right, let's try this again. This tutorial will teach you the basics of how to make music using your controller as an instrument. Press the start button when you are ready. Here we go. The notes on the staff below The notes on the staff below correspond to controller buttons. Press the highlighted button now to play the note. Try to play the following notes in time too. So it's telling me that I need to press the B button on my controller in time with the beat. You heard a metronome there, that tick, 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 tick. So it's counting time, just like you do when you play music. So now I'm gonna give it a shot. Alright, you're a natural. Some notes will require you to hold the button for multiple beats. You can tell because the notes will have a tail. Try holding the button down now. So just like before, I'm going to press the B button, but this time I'm going to hold it. So I'll just show you. Bah. Feeling the music? Each D-pad or face button will play a specific note in the scale. Of course, there are more than 8 notes on most instruments, so try again, but this time hold the R button to play up 1 octave. So I'm going to press that B button, but this time I'm going to hold the R button, and you can see it's moving there when I do that. And what this means is I'll play the same note, but I'm going to play it 1 whole octave up. So if you're a musician, I was going to say if you're an instrument. If you're an instrument and you're watching, please let me know. But if you're a musician, you'll know that a full octave is, 12 semitones up. So if say it was a C4, you would play it as a C5. So up 1 full octave. So I'm going to try that now. So. You're killing it. Just like playing up an octave, you can hold the L button to play the note half a tone up or a semitone up. Think of it like a sharp note. Yeah, so exactly. It's just like a sharp. So if, for the same example, it's not a C, but if it were a C, it's actually C, D, E, F, G. It's actually a B. It's funny that it's a B there too. But if it was B is a weird one. Let's just say C. If it was a C and you hold the L button, it's going to play it as a C sharp. But same exact principle. So it's a little tough to do this with one hand, but if I show you now, if I hold the L button, that's going to go down. So if I hit B and L at the same time. All right. Sharp skills. Get it? Because sharp. Sharp skills, you're almost done. Naturally, you can combine both R and L buttons to play a full octave up and increase by half a tone. So up an octave and sharp. So try it out now. Again, when I hold it down, you'll see it change on the screen. So let's try it. So. Ah, awesome. Amazing. Now combine everything you've learned to play a full scale. The root of the scale will always be the down button. You got this. Yes, so that is true. In this game, when I press the down button, whatever key signature I'm sort of playing in at the moment, that down button will always be the root of the scale. So if I'm playing C major, down will be a C. In this case, it will be a C because we're in C major. But if, say, we're playing in, I don't know, I don't really know the key signatures really off the, I'm not a professional, I keep saying instrument. I'm not a professional musician. But if I was in like a D, some kind of D scale, then the D would be the down note. Right, so let's give it a shot. So. Ah, great. Did you hear that scale? So that was a C major scale. So I press down, left, up, right. We call this the west, south, east, north. So that's how you play a full scale. Just like a real instrument, right? And then if I wanted to play it up an octave, or if I wanted to play them all as sharps, or sharp octaves. Ah! Alright, cool. So I'll hit the start button. I'm not going to hit the start button. Well, I did hit the start button, but the tutorial is a little bit still work in progress. I just kind of wanted to give you a brief understanding of sort of the basic mechanics of the game. Okay, so let me see about... Well, we're going to have to do a little bit of work before I can play a song again because I did a bunch of changes that broke a lot of things. Hey, that might be good actually because the song might not sound like a real song. So I'm a little worried about copyright because these were just tests. So to give you a little background here, so these songs here are all, they come from MIDI. MIDI is a file format that people can share online. It's for writing music, and it's essentially computers interpreting notation to play music. Right, so what does it stand for? Musical something digital interface, musical instrumentation digital interface. I'm not exactly sure, but basically you write a MIDI, on your computer, and then a computer will interpret that data, and then play it back as a song. And what you can do with this MIDI, I'll just show you here real quick. This is JavaScript object notation, or JSON, and basically you take that MIDI file and you put it through. You basically convert it from the .MIDI file, which is a sort of sound file, and it will give you the data for that track. So this is a very simple one. This is just me testing. I can even show you in FL Studio. I just made a simple scale. It's a C major scale, from C4 up to C7, just for testing purposes. So I just, made this, exported it as a MIDI, and then ran it through a JSON, MIDI to JSON converter, and then I got this this JSON file. So I can then use this to basically build, I guess you can call them beat maps if you're a rhythm game aficionado. You'll know beat map is kind of a term that I guess those games use to where the notes lie in the song. So I take a kind of automated approach where I don't want to have to place each individual note separately by hand, because that takes a long time. I did originally do that when I first started making this, but it took me upwards of 3 hours to just place notes for a song that was only 1.5 minutes long. And if I wanted 10 songs, I mean, that's already over a day's worth of work just to get 10 songs. So I decided to kind of take a little bit more of an automated approach. So taking a MIDI file, whether I created it or someone else created it, and then converting that to the JavaScript that you saw over here, and then just having my my game read the JavaScript and then place the notes based on where it comes out here. So it'll tell you the name of the note. So it's a C at the 3rd octave. It starts at 0, so it's at the very beginning, and it lasts for this many seconds. So using that simple data, you can figure out, and depending on the BPM of the song, which in this case is 130 and some decimal places, you can figure out exactly where it should lie. So that is kind of how I do it. Let's try this one. It says octaves are a little screwy, and that's true. So I don't know if this is going to work well. It might work. Let's just give it a shot. So I'll maximize this and see. Let's see what it sounds like. So, Unity is very fun. So sometimes there are issues with Unity where the sound gets a little crackly. And I don't know a fix for this. I looked into it, and it seems to be because I have it on low latency, which is a setting within Unity when you're using the input system to decide, is it more focused on performance, or is it focused on latency? And since this is a rhythm game, I want to prioritize latency above all else. And in doing so, Unity has an issue where sometimes the audio gets crackly and starts to kind of lag. So if that happens, I just reboot Unity and it kind of just fixes itself. And when I make builds, it doesn't usually have that problem. So I've just been dealing with it. So if you see me reboot the app because of that, that's fine. Sounds good. Okay, so I'll try this out. I don't know how well this is gonna work. Let's just try it. Okay, so that problem is happening right now. So you can see the notes did not line up to the actual beats. I wonder if it's because I'm streaming. Oh, that would be a shame if that was true. Just pause the music for a minute. That would be a real shame. Well, this whole stream is really just a test. This whole thing sounds weird. It's not supposed to sound like this. Alright guys, I'm not even gonna finish that one. That's I don't know if any of these are gonna work right now, so this is kind of terrible. Oh man. Okay, well that's too bad. Okay, I think I know what I can do. I'm gonna do something kind of funny here in a second. Let me just So I did a whole ton of changes to my code. I've been working on this for the past couple nights, and down here is all the old code, and this is just in case I wanted to go back on something. I do use source control, but this is in case I wanted to just quickly check the way that I used to do it, or if I just wanted to undo every new thing I did and go back to the way it was, because it was mostly working before, or if I just wanted to demo it again. Um, this is the code that works. So let's just re-enable that. So I'm just going to take my new code, comment it out. Oops. Ooh. Wait. Oh, okay. Right. And then I'll go to my old code and uncomment that to bring it back into existence. So I believe this should put me back to where kind of I was before. And then I'll go back. I just wanted to show you how a song plays. Okay, well, it didn't blow up, so that's a good sign. Okay. Oops. Alright, so this one's working. Yeah. Okay, I made the game, but I'm not very good at it. Not easy, but there, not bad. So I don't take into account how late or early you are for the score currently. It's just how many notes you actually hit. So once once I have everything kind of working, I'll definitely have kind of thresholds. So if you're too late or if you're too early, that will affect. You'll get a sort of like miss is the worst, and then you get like bad, and then good, and then great, or like nice, which is the best, and that will all kind of factor into the overall score of the song you get. Okay, so that's kind of how it works. So you could see there I was having to use the octaves, I was having to use the sharps, I was using all sorts of notes all over the controller instrument I was using. Yeah, so oh man, I would love to be able to play these on stream, but I think it's probably a terrible idea to do that, so I won't do that. Perhaps I can play which one? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, let's try this one. This one's really difficult, and it's a piano version, so I think I'll be okay. But yeah, here we go. I'm gonna try it. I actually don't know how well this one looks, or how good this one looks, because I just put it in and didn't really think about it. So yeah, let's try it. All the instruments are the same instrument right now. I'll change that once I get more into this. Okay, something happened here because I should be playing right now. That is strange. What happened here? What happened here? I got... Oh. 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 Okay, well, I got an argument out of range exception, so it sounds like the notes didn't work. So either I was looking at something that came before or came after where it should have. Huh. So I didn't... This is the problem. When you refactor something and you don't finish it, this can happen. Alright. I think the best thing to do here is not to try to get the old thing to work properly. Oops. I should just, get to work on having a proper game. A game that works. So I'm going to re-uncomment my new code, because that's the code that I'm working on that I have high hopes for working. So the main reason I did a refactor is because originally this was written with the assumption that I was going to be manually placing notes for songs, which quickly became obvious that was not going to be time efficient nor scalable. Plus, I really want to be able to have, if I do ship this, inevitably when I have a demo or something that is available, people can just import their own MIDIs and play those. And so if you have to place everything manually, there's no way that people are going to want to do that, right? So sure, I could build an editor or something, but I figure it's easier just to import MIDI. And you can create, those MIDIs in DAWs that you're already using. So if someone does make an original track, like the first track that I played, that was one of mine. I made that in FL Studio, and then I just converted that to MIDI, and I could just play it in here. So I really want that to be a core feature. So when I first started, I really thought that importing MIDIs was going to be way too difficult, and it was before I really looked into it. But once I started looking into it, it actually turned out to be a little easier than I thought. So it went from like a stretch goal that I would implement after I was done everything else into a core feature. So the reason I bring that up is because, like I said, I created this, with the assumption that I was going to be manually placing them, but now they're automatically getting placed. So things like the BPM changes, or that's like tempo, how fast it is. Those need to be, dynamically placed in the songs now, and the notes changing octaves has to be, placed in the songs now. So there's a lot more that needs to get figured out, and it gets built kind of beforehand. So before, I could assume where the notes were, and I could go and tweak things manually and be like, okay, well, at this point, it has to go up an octave, or at this point, the BPM needs to change, or the key signature changes. But now it all has to be, it has to be done while it's building. So that means it's a little tougher. So that's what the refactor was. I am now accounting for way more things, so it's way tougher. It's much more difficult. And I'm not a professional software engineer, so it's a bit of a slog for me. So you can see my code is not the easiest to read, probably. I do try to leave comments for myself. Let me just get some music going here. I do try to leave comments for myself so I can remember what I did. Because sometimes you write something and you don't know what the heck you did the next day. But yeah, so right now the problem I'm having is, so I created this test song. This is the full scales one here, the one I showed you in FL Studio. So if I take a look at the beat map here, so you can see the notes that have been placed. So this is based on that MIDI file. So you know this is like, so the Y button I press, that's Y here, which is the top of this scale, right? So C, just one octave apart. So that's all good. That's perfectly fine. Now the problem is, you can see these little numbers here. That's the octave the note should be in. And if I look at the MIDI manager, you can see here it's keeping track of all the notes that the song should have. So you can see C3, D3, E, F, G, A, B, C. And so the thing is, when you get to the top, right, it's the same as the bottom except one octave up. But if you remember, the R button is also octave up. So the problem is, okay, I have this way to play a C4, but I also have this way to play a C4, and it's the same note. So why would I play this one versus this one? And it took me a long time to figure out how to logic through it and decide why would you want to play, you know, one versus the other. And what I came up with, and if you're watching and you understand what I'm saying and you can follow, what I decided, and I want to see if anyone else agrees, is the only time you would play the octaved version of the next highest one up is if the note that follows it is in the same octave as that. So, you know, you can see here these fours, these Y4s, these are C4s, so the top of the scale. The next note, this is the C, this is actually the same note. And so I don't have the R's, that's part of the problem. But this will be the next octave up. But the note after it, this one, which is a D, is in the same octave as it, right? So if this was the note that I was playing here, I skipped a note, right? It would almost feel like I skipped a note. So I just check the next note, and if the next note is in the same octave, but it's a different letter, so in this case it's not a C anymore, it's a D, it'll play this note, or it'll place this note as the bottom of the next scale, if that makes sense. So I only I only half understand it. Yeah, I see Hooch McCann has joined the stream. Let me see, can I play Sandstorm? What key is that in? How does it go? Hold on, I could play Sandstorm. I'm gonna check what the notes are. Let's see, what key is that in? It's gonna be really fast, really hard. Darude. It's in B minor. Okay. Let me see. I mean, the problem is Sandstorm is copyright, so E minor. Are you sure? Google says B minor. I mean, I believe you, but maybe that's like a different version? I'm sure there's multiple versions of the same song, right? It's probably like a remix. No, he says no. Okay. Well, I don't know. Let me just quickly download this. I could easily import Sandstorm into the game and it would probably work. I am still working on this part, so it's not gonna fully work right now. No songs are gonna fully work right now until I get this fixed. Which is why I've been working on it so hard the last couple days, because I want to get back to a state where I can play songs, because it's kind of dry if I just sit here and look at this and it's just a scale and it doesn't work and it's a little bit demoralizing. part of why I wanted to stream it, to kind of motivate myself. So I had a bunch of momentum the last month working on this, but it's starting to get a lot tougher. Yeah, so it's, you know, I've slowed down a little bit on my development. I try to do a little bit every day, whether it's just a small amount or a huge amount. I try to work on it at least a little bit every single day, and that's just to keep momentum up. Okay, so I downloaded Sandstorm. I'm gonna open it up, but I'm not gonna play it. So it is... Yeah, I think you're right. It's a E. Minor. I think you're right. So, that would be... Okay, hold on. Oh, whoops. Oh, there it is. You hear the MIDI in the background. So that is a B. Oh. It is a B, so it's gonna be here. Wait. Oh yeah, that's how it goes. Okay, there it is. Okay. Sandstorm. Okay, it's done. This obligatory, right? We had to do Sandstorm. Maybe I will put it in as a track if I... Well, I mean, I can't. I can't put it in as a track because I don't own Sandstorm. Maybe I'll make a remix. I don't know if that works. I mean, MIDIs. I think those are those are you know, protected by copyright law. So, don't know if I can do that. Okay, so let me get back on track. I'm really good at getting distracted, which is probably why it's taken me a month to just get this far. So, let me see, what was I actually stuck on? I was stuck on right. So this note here should have an octave. Just message to Rude. We'll see. if I get a working game, maybe I will, and I'll say, hey, can I put your song in my game? It'd be great. Everyone would love it. It'd be a huge meme. All right, so you can see I've got a bunch of printouts here for just kind of, I guess you can call them traces, just to figure out what every note's kind of doing at that moment. So this is a C4, so I'm just printing out the last note. So I check the last note, I check this note, and I check the next note. I also check whether or not this has, I'm just printing whether or not this is the top note, so like the Y, and also should it have an octave. So right now, everything has octave false. That's a problem. These ones should be octave true. So the C4 with the last note C4 and the next note D4, which is right here. So you can see last note C4, this, oops, sorry, one up. Last note C4, this note C4, next note D4. Is top note? No. Yes, that's correct. Has octave? False. That should be true. Also, it should have an octave. So let's see if I can figure out why it's not doing that. The problem is definitely here in my giant block of if and else if statements. So we're not going to worry about these ones because the notes are kind of placed correctly. So I'm just going to kind of like move past that real quick. Just don't worry about that giant block of code because it is not important at this moment. So this is the problem, right? So I think I can already see the problem. So I'm saying if this note octave, which is known, is greater than the last note octave, and its top note is false, that's what that means, then this note has high octave is true, and set the octave of the note to the current one. So I should, okay, so I'm a visual guy, so let's look at it. So this is the note in question. So how do we decide whether this should get an octave? Well, we know it's a higher, but we don't know it's a higher octave than the last one, right? Well, we could say if the last note is the same octave and the last note is the top note, then I think we can safely say that this is going to need an octave, right? Because the top, if it's a top note, that means it's technically the bottom of the last scale, even though it's a 4, right? So I think we just need to put an or. So okay, let's just think about that. So okay, so if this note octave is the same, we're going to need a few conditionals, but let's just do this one at a time. So if this note octave is equal to the last note's octave, and this note letter, so it's going to be a D, not a C, does not equal last note letter, then octave is true. Tell the note that it has the octave augment, and that augment is just the little, R on the note. So let's see if that works. So I just have to reload it for it to work. Let's see how much that breaks things. Okay, well, it did put okay, so it did put, octaves on, but it put way too many. So something was wrong with our logic. I'll say I did that on purpose to teach you guys a lesson. Really, I didn't. I'm just bad at coding. So the reason these ones are getting octaves is because, of course, this one's different from this one, and it's the same octave. So we said, give it an octave. But that's not enough, right? So this is correct, right? This is not correct because this is actually the same letter Oh. Oh, I think... Hold on. Right, we're checking the last note. We need to be checking the next note, I believe. I think that was our only... Maybe that's all we need to change. So if this note is the same as the last note octave, the next note octave, and the letter is different than the next note octave. Now that's going to do the same thing where a bunch of them are going to get extra ones. Oh, I keep saying octave. Next note letter. Right, so... Oh, I closed it. Let me just open it up again. So that's still going to cause all the other notes to get the octaves, right? Because the condition is true for those as well. So we need to find something that differentiates it, so it will only happen on this one. So, right, because you know, this note is a C, this note is a D, and they're the same octave, right? So it says, well, since those two things are true, give it an octave. So we don't want that because these are the bottom. So let's think about that. Okay, so back here. We're coming from, just imagine these R's are not there. So we're coming from the third octave, but the top note of the third octave. So we need to check. Now I can't assume that we're coming straight from the top note. You could easily come from the B and move into a D4, and you will need to place an octave on the D4. So we can't count on this being the way that it would work, because it could go anywhere depending on the song. So what we need to do is we do have to check the last note. So we'll check the last note. If the last note is a lower octave than this one, by 1, right? Because you can only go up 1 octave with the R button. If it's more than 1, then we'll have to do a different kind of change, which I'll deal with after this is working. So if the last note is less than this current octave, so 4 by 1, or if the last note is a top note, and the next note, well, I don't think we have to check the next note. Right? Because I think we just need to care, we only care about the previous note. Yeah, for this case, I don't think we need to check the next note. So we're checking the last note. We want to see if the last note is a top note. In this case, it would be that Y button note. Or it's 1 lower octave than this one. And I don't think the letter matters. Okay, let's try that. So I'll just get rid of this. So we said we're checking, so this note octave does not equal last note octave, or last note I don't know if I've written anything to check if the last note had. Yeah, I'm only checking if this note is a top note. Okay, well, we can check that in other ways. Last note. Right, we need to check if the last note is the same as this octave, minus 1. So we're saying if this one, we'll say 4, is the same as the last note, or 4 minus 1 is the same as the last one, then it's considered the next octave up. Or doing with the last stored octave? Do I actually store that? So there's a bunch in here that I need to remove because I was really experimenting, trying to figure out how to do this. So there's I don't think I actually stored it. I think I need to store it. Because right now I only have the last note's octave. Okay, so let me think about this for a second. I do. So where I do. I store right here. Okay, so that's the last note, not the last note. I have this note as high octave. Okay, well, let me just see if this will work even, and then if this does work, then we can think about how to go about this. So I'm gonna change the MIDI very slightly. I'm gonna make this a B3, right? Because right now it's a C4. This is going to be interesting. Yeah, okay, so that worked, right? Because it says, okay, well, the last one's a 3, right? It says the last note is 1 less than this one. Huh. But you know what? That should probably be the Y. So something else is going wrong here. Plus this one's a Y, but it's a 3. So, man. This is difficult. I think it's because I was offensive. that did nothing. So this is my old code. This is how the octaves used to work, and they did work. So how did I do it? So I said if this note octave is greater than the last one, and it doesn't have a sharp in it, then it gets an octave. So that, I mean, that seems pretty damn simple, doesn't it? So maybe if I try to keep it simple, so this note octave is greater than last note octave, this note gets a high octave. Now I think the problem is this is true in a number of scenarios where you may not want to give it an octave. So that's probably why I changed it. I mean, that's definitely why I changed it. However, I do have the make the button a Y north, or, you know, as an if. So that should return true, and then the else if shouldn't return, right? Because that's my understanding. Yeah. Okay, for some reason this, okay. Yeah, this one gets, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. So it does set it as the north, and it gives it an octave because the north one does run first, right? So it says, oh, well, you're a top note, but also this is true. But so why does it get both? That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. I thought the else if wouldn't return if the if statement returned true. Maybe I'm misunderstanding simple Boolean logic. I thought for sure that's how that worked. That's bizarre. Well, okay. Oh, it's because of this. Right? Well, for now, I'm gonna comment that out. See if that changes. Okie dokie. Ah, my friend MC Lito is messaging me right now. Just letting him know I'm streaming. Just send him a message. So yeah, if there's anybody watching, definitely check out MC Lito's channel on YouTube. He talks about Japan, tech, travel. Really cool dude, one of my good friends. Lives in Osaka. And yeah, he's a really cool dude. He's got a really cool channel. Does a lot of live streaming, and definitely give him a like. Check it out. If there is anybody watching right now, you know, feel free to give me a like too. I'm not really looking for it, but you know, it'd be cool if you like this. Also, feel free to chat me up. I'm just gonna send a link out here real quick. Aight, cool. So oh yeah, I should mention I'm also learning the old Nihongo Japanese. So if you do speak Japanese, let me know in the chat. I would love to speak to someone who also is learning Japanese. Okay, so that did not solve our problem. It solved one of our problems, but it didn't solve the original problem we were trying to fix, which is not great. There he is, MC Lito in the house. Welcome to the stream. He speaks Kansai Ben. He does. He is a Kansai Ben master. Lito-san, Kansai Ben o oshite kudasai. Please teach me your Kansai Ben. So if you're just joining here, we are attempting to fix a giant rewrite that I did to my code that caused everything to break, but also partially work. So not the best place to be. Okay, so let me think. Man, oh man. Maido. Sounds like a person's name. Maido. I think it's a Zelda character's name. Maido. Anyways, Maido. What does that mean? What does that mean, Lito-san? Lito-sensei. Okidoki. So this is the problem. Right here. This C4 should get an octave up. Because we are going up. It means welcome or hello in Kansai Ben. So it's like yokoso, but for like Osaka. Maido. I had never heard that one before, so that is great to know. Arigato. Okie dokie, so this note right here, let's look at it, does in fact require a C4. It does not have octave up checked, which means our code is not telling it needs an octave up, which means our logic is flawed. That is very, very common, a common occurrence for me. So what are we telling it to do? We're saying, here, you know what? Let me print something here. Testo. So this way, if this even runs, we'll get that printout. If we don't get that printout, that means we don't even get into this code, meaning our logic is indeed messed up. Let's see, do we see it? We don't. Okay, so that means our logic is definitely messed up. No surprise here. So if this note is greater than the last note, so why doesn't that happen? Really? Because that should be true at least a few times. Right? I mean, not all the notes have the same octave, right? I mean, it should be true here. It should be true here. It should be true here. But oh, you know what it is. You know what it is. It's in this code. No, it's not. It's in this code. Right. Yes, I think that's correct. So in this code, we need to tell it it should be a higher octave. I'm fairly certain, and the reason why is because this was something I did last night, really late, so That's probably why I forgot about it, but basically we're checking if this note octave is less than or equal to the last note's octave, and this note letter is different than the last note letter. That's one statement, and then one of those, well, no, both of those have to return true. So I'm not sure why I've got parentheses around it. Whatever. So those and this note letter is equal to the root note. So the split note letters in key is just the notes split out, and checks the 0, the first item in the current key signature. So basically, if this note octave C4 is the same as, or sorry, is less than the next note octave D4, and this letter does not equal the next note letter C and D, they don't equal, and this note letter is also the root, so it's a C, then we say it's not a top note, but it is the next octave up. And the reason I have to have this in its own is because, remember, there's two ways to play the top note in the scale on the controller. There's the down button. It's the Y button, or it's the R button and the down button, right? Because you can play it up an octave. So that's why it's a little confusing. It's really confusing. Trust me, I've been friggin' smashing my head against the wall trying to figure this out. So it's only partially working. Okay, so with that in mind, I think all I need to do is just, I think I can just get rid of this code altogether and put it up here, because we're saying it's a down note. Oops, and it's lights in the way, and it has an octave, so that should be hunky-dory. Great, except it also does it for this one. So that's probably easy to fix. It's because I initialized the octave as a 0, so the 3 is definitely greater than a 0, so it tells it, hey, you're a high note too, but really you're not. You just wanna be. You're a wannabe. You're a fody. A big fat fody. So I think all I need to do here is, as long as the last note is not 0. Because, there's no such thing as octave 0 as far as I know. So just not equal 0. Oops. Let's move that up there, and that should fix that problem. Right, I think most instruments don't go below like the 3rd octave. I think even pianos, right? They might go down to 2. I'm not. Maybe there's like a B2 on a piano or something. I don't know. I don't know if anything. Maybe a bass would go down that low. I mean, if you really want to like think about what octave they're playing in. But I think most instruments, like I think a flute only has 3 octaves, right? I don't know which ones, 4, 5, and 6 maybe. Maybe it's 5, 6, 7. I don't know, but most things don't go below 3, and most things don't go above 7, because it gets to that like super shrill, high pitch, can't really hear it as sound. All right, well that didn't fix our problem. So look at me. What do I know? Weird. That's real weird. Oh, okay, so that is interesting. Let's just say last note letter equals nothing. There's no letter yet. because I am seeing in my trace, it does come back as a 3 for octave, but it doesn't have a letter. So I don't know what's going on there, but I think if I check and say, hey, does the last note have a letter? No, well, then it must be the first note. So don't bother. What? So hit the old Control Z button a few times, because not only did that not work, it actually put us backwards on our quest to working code. Yeah. Lido agrees. Piano does have the largest range. If I look at here, let me pull this up real quick. My light is in the way. So if I open up a new song, actually let me just make a new song. So here. All right, and then we add some keys. Oops, that's the wrong one. Add some keys like I said I wanted to do. Where'd they go? Where'd they go? There they are. And then I make a little track here. So you can see here's like a piano. So this has C0. You can barely hear it. It's so deep that it doesn't even sound like music. So if you get into the ones, it's barely even a sound. Right, even 2, it kind of changes. Right? So once you start to get to C3, it starts to become more melodic. You can hear it, right? So C3 is, you can go down into the 2s a little bit. But I think C3 is gonna probably be, yeah, it gets super muddy like Lido's saying here. Hey, thanks for the subscribe there, Lido. Very nice. I wonder if you're my first subscriber. I have no idea. I don't even know how to check that. I got 1 like. That's probably you too, right, Lido? Very nice. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out, and thanks for the sub. Yeah, so C3 is probably going to be your lowest that you really have to worry about, and then you will probably go into 7s, but higher than that, it gets into that range where it doesn't even sound like music. There's no tone. So, I think I'm only probably going to go up to B7, maybe C8, but you won't really need to go much higher than that, I think. Anyways. Oh, I got 2 likes apparently. Wow. That's one more like than I thought I had. That's 100% more likes than I expected. Great. Okay, so again, I get distracted very easily. So if you're here looking for a productive programmer, you are in the wrong place, my friend. Right. Okay. So I undid some things I did last time because I liked that this was correct. So this was working. However, this wasn't working. This one's working. So this one's fine. So why? So you can see here in my trace, this is saying, this is for the very first note. Last note is blank 3. This note, C3, because that's a C3. The next note's a D3. Is this top note? No. Has octave is true, and that's the part that is wrong. So this is the trace right here. So this happens at the end when it places the note. So I'll give you just a really quick rundown of how this works. So, you know, as I explained at the beginning of the stream, I'm building these based on MIDIs. So a user takes a MIDI file, which is a bunch of data and notes, and then I run it through a converter. It comes out as JavaScript, and then I use that JavaScript, which looks kind of like this, to decide where the notes should be placed. It looks just like this. So it's just telling me the note's name is C4, the note plays at this time, the note has a velocity of this, I don't actually use that, and the note plays for this long. So using the song's beats per minute, which is also contained in the MIDI file here at the top, BPM, you do a quick calculation and you can figure out, this is in seconds, so at 0.461537999999991 seconds, this G5 will play. And so what I do in the code, which is in here, I just look at the JSON file, the JavaScript file, and then I run through, that's what this for each is. So for every note, let's go to the notes right here. So for every note, I'm going to run this code. So it checks that big list of notes in the file, and it runs this code for each and every one of them. And it says the duration is this, the start time is this, you know, the beat that it goes on is here. This is some more just calculation stuff. I can go through this if you're interested. It's a little complicated. It took me a while to figure this out. And so yeah, this runs through every single note, and at the end of it, once it's figured out where it should get placed, then it assigns the note values, which is what we're looking at now. So this also runs for every single note in that list of notes. And what this is doing at this part, so the first part's fine. I can place the notes accurately in the song. They do get placed at the proper locations here, but and they're the general right notes, right? They get placed with the right buttons. The problem is now I want to put these octaves on. So that's what this block of code here is figuring out. Should this note that I'm looking at right now get an octave or not? So that's the problem I'm trying to solve right now. Okay, so yeah, so we're in the assign note values, right? So this is the actual loop right here. So for each note instance in the list of notes, run this code. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So this big block here is just the actual buttons. So give it, you know, is it up, down, left, right, west, south, east, and north, which is up here. So that's okay, that's working. So the problem I'm having is up here, because the north button, this one, so this is west, south, east, and north. The north button is the same as the bottom note in the scale. So if this is a C, like a C3, this is a C4. Right, but how this works is I can hit the R button to play any note up an octave. So without the R button, that's a C4, but if I hold that button and press down, that's a C4 as well. And then it goes C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then it would be a C5. So that's where it gets a little complicated. So right here, we're figuring out, should it be a down with an octave up, or should it be a Y, which is the north button? Now that I think I've pretty much got that sorted here. Now I need to get these next notes to become octaves as well. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Man. I'm gonna worry about this one later. I want to get these working first. I'll worry about these other ones that need to get fixed after. So this one's fine. This is working. Now I need to check why these ones aren't. And I know why. It's because right now I'm only checking if the north button should have it or not. I need to put in a conditional statement for all the other buttons now. So I think it honestly, it can kind of be... Yeah, because this is telling us that this note has a high octave, right? And if I look, yeah. I'm gonna change the name of this, because it's not so much this note has high octave, but whether or not we should be playing in a high octave mode right now. Because this will stay true for every loop until I change it to false. So I think if high octave, then this note gets a high octave augment. And in that case, I can remove this code from here. I think it'll work, but now I need to think about what happens after that. Right, because once you get to the fives, it starts on 3, goes up to 4. Once we get to 5, we need to change the octave in a different way. But let's see what happens. Okay, so we totally broke everything, which is great. So everything is an up note now. So why did that happen? Probably because yeah, why? Oh, it's because this needs to be an else if, right? Because now that'll run, return true, and then the next one shouldn't return. So my coding method is a heck of a lot of trial and error. So as you can see, that was a big old error again. So that didn't actually work the way I thought it would. So it's weird because if I look at the printouts, everything is saying it has an octave. It's just coming back true every single time. So that's not good. So why is that? Let me just collapse that. I can just, these green ones, I'm just gonna get rid of these because these aren't being used. I did a bunch of experimentation, so there's a bunch of stuff in here that doesn't need to be in here. Weird, so it was green, but it's actually being used. What's up with that? Visual Studio really effed me on that one. It's fine. Right. So this up here, these are the definitions of all the variables I use in the loop. And what I'm looking for is this note has octave right here. So if I just click on that, it'll highlight, and then if I so just click on it, it'll highlight, and if I just look down my code, it'll actually show me all the references. I'm not actually using it anywhere. What the? So I already had it. Ugh. Never code when you're tired. So last night, I don't know what the hell I was thinking. So I basically declared a second variable that was the exact same as the other one, just more verbose. So that's cool. So that's why it was returning true, I guess. Because that gets set to true. Where here... It's weird. Okay, so, yeah, that goes, Oh. Yeah. I think I just need to, yeah. So it does get set to true. But because that first note thinks it's a high octave, all subsequent notes believe they're also high octave. So we just need to make sure that when the notes come through and they're... no, we can't do it that way. Oh, man, oh man. 3 likes. Awesome. That's awesome. People like seeing me struggle, I guess. And trust me, I'm struggling right now. So the problem I'm wrestling with in my head right now is if I do what I was originally thinking, which is say whenever another note is played or is placed, like here, it's gonna say I'm not a high octave note. That's okay, because if it gets this far down, then it's obviously not a high octave note. So maybe I'm thinking too hard about it. So basically any other note that gets placed is going to say I am not a high octave note, so therefore should not send that fact to the note. So let's see if that even works. I just want to look at the printouts, see what we're getting. Something's obviously clearly messed up here. Only the first note, the C4, and the C5 work here. So everything's returning as octave true. Top note false. So all this. So this is the note, this is the code right here that I introduced that caused that to happen. So I just commented that out. So this is my method. Try something. If everything breaks, just comment it out. Okay, yeah, so we're back to kind of semi-working here. So this is definitely a problem, right? Because it's saying has octave true for everything. So there's got to be some logic I put in to make sure that they're not reporting that they're an octave. So this is the only place that it gets set right now, which means it gets set for the very first note and never gets set as false. So maybe I do need to fix that first issue. I said I could move past it, but I don't think I can. So let's figure out why. Oh. What? Oh, right. Yeah. I took this code out of here, I forgot. Oh boy. I think I know what I need to do here. I just need to put in like a hard-coded if so you know how I said I loop through every single note in the list? At the end of every loop, I have a integer variable, so just a number from 0 to 10,000 or whatever, that increases every time. So I'm keeping track of which note I'm actually looking at right now. So I can just, right here, I'm going to say if the note index is equal to notes, which is the name of the list, 0, so the very first element. Oh, sorry, no, wait, hold on. Sorry, okay, so yeah, so I'm not going to say 0, I'm going to say, sorry, what am I trying to do here? Okay, I want to check if this note's, yeah, okay, so I'll use the note list for both, so I'll say notes at, and this little square brackets is just I'm telling it the number, the item, the element number in the list that I want to check, so I can put in any number, like the 500th item. You can also put in variables here, so I want to say the note index, note list index, note list index. Alright, so when you go through the loop the first time, the note list index is set to 0. Right, because when you're coding, 0 is the first item in the list. It doesn't start at 1, it starts at 0. So it goes through the first time, it says 0 all the way through, and it gets to the end and says now it's 1. Go back to the top. Now the next time through it's item 1, then go back to the top. Now it's 2, now 3, etc., etc., etc. So what I'm going to check is if the note at the current index, so in this case it's going to be 0, is the same as notes 0, which is just, I'm saying if the current note, which is the note index, is the same exact thing as the first note in the list, item 0, then, or not equal to, I want to say not equal to. Yeah, because I don't want this to run for the first note. I think that makes sense. Let's see what happens, shall we? Could you imagine if I did a stream and I didn't get anything done? I just kept trying things and nothing worked. Alright, so it didn't work. It looks like it worked, but it didn't work because that's an up. That should be a down. So what this is telling me is up is the default state. of these notes. So what it's telling me is nothing returned true. So it places it as its default value. So if I look at the MIDI manager, or not MIDI manager, if I look at the actual notes, yeah, it gets up natural, which is the 2 default states. So it didn't work, and I think I know why. Works, I'll explain it. Yeah, there's no point in explaining it if it doesn't work. Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, that got fixed, but now everything else broke. Damn it. It's never that easy. So the problem is, one of these gets set to true. In this case, it's this one. Oh, hold on. I think it's just the way that I've got this written is wrong. So I think I need to, instead of putting it inside the code, because this part returns true for the first note. So this section runs. This if statement returns as true, right? It says the thing that you're asking for, the condition, is true. So that means all these else ifs do not run because it says the first one worked. So don't bother with these ones. So what I'm trying to do is stop it from running, right? So I put it in the wrong spot. This should just be part of the condition. Right? I think that's the problem I was having. Just get rid of this. And we'll see if that works. If you're just joining, I am struggling through trying to fix a problem with my rhythm game. And there we go. So that was it. So this first note is now not reporting itself as having an octave. Right, so it used to have the R button there, so that's been fixed. It does print out as false, so that's good. And this one is reporting as having an octave, so perfect. Everything we wanted to happen has happened. So now that I have this one working, now I just need to make sure that the notes that follow it also get the octave, because what will happen here is I'll get to play the C4, right, which is a octave up from the previous. So let me just so I just had to turn my controller back on. It just goes off, after a certain amount of time. So let me play. All right, so you can hear that. So imagine that's a C3. When it gets to this note, or that's a B3. So it plays the D3. The next note is you can see the octave there. Right, C3. C4, and then the next note here, that's what it's saying, no R, but it should be, right? Right now it's gonna go. So I just need to make sure the other ones also have the octave up, right? So little baby steps, we're getting there. Okay, so let's think, what do we need to check, or what do we need to do? So we're already pretty confident that our down or root note, which is in here, is correct. So if we kind of take a look at the code, how did we do it? Well, we checked this note octave less than or equal to the next note octave, and the letters also don't match. But that's not going to work for this one, right? Because the next note is the same octave as this one. However, we do tell the code when this one runs. So you can see here, has octave is false right up until this note, which is saying, oh, hey, look, has octave is now true. And it's true for the rest of the time because we never set it back to false. So I think I can use that. So what we can do is if, right, so let's just look. So this is the one we're thinking about. So if the last note is a high octave, then this one and this note is the same octave as the last note, then it should also be a high octave note, right? Now let's just check that. So none of these will return that as true, right? Because none of these are high octave notes. So it should only be this one. So this one's going to check the last note. That has a high octave, true. And it's going to check the octaves. They're the same. So true, true. That should get it too. Sounds right. Let's try it out. So this won't return true for the next note. We know that, right? So it'll move on to the next conditional statement to check. In this case, it's going to be an else if, and then we give it conditions. So we're going to say else if. So this note, first let's check the last note. So last note, or not last note has high octave, but just high octave. And you could say high octave equals true, but as a shorthand, you can just type high octave, and that is kind of just shorthand for saying is true. So if high octave is true, and so we know that's true, and the last note octave is the same as this note octave. So and this note octave is equal to last note octave. And in case you're wondering why there's two equals there, and only one equal here, so equals is comparative. So when you're trying to say, does this thing equal this thing, you have to use two equals. If you're assigning something, like in this case, a true or false statement, use a single equal sign. So if I were to put that in there, just a single, it's gonna come back with an error and say, hey, you can't do that because you're trying to, you're using an if statement. You're trying to find out if something's true or false. You need to use comparative. And you know, this could be like greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, not equal to, or equal to. Alrighty, so if this note, if high octave is true and this note octave is equal to the last note octave, this note will have a high octave augment. Okay. We don't have to set this again, but just for consistency's sake, I will. So we are gonna have to change that to a false at some point, but let's see if this works. So what I'm thinking is these notes should become, they should have the octave augment, but I think we're gonna have a problem. I know we're gonna have a problem when we get to the next scale, but let's see. Great, yep, awesome. So pretty much exactly what I thought was gonna happen. So yes, well, no, not great. So these ones all messed up. So not so great. They do have octaves, which is good, but they're not getting their notes now. And the reason is these. Now the reason is these are not ever returning back to true. They're not, these conditions aren't even checked because they're else ifs. Now I think I can safely change these ones to just be ifs. Not this one. Yeah, well, we'll see. because I want these ones to run pretty much always. Because this is actually the note, directions. And you're only looking at one note at a time, so really you can only have one direction that it can be at any given time. Let's see what happens. Yeah, okay, cool. Yep, that's totally great. That worked. Fantastic. So it works, and then you get to the 5, and then that's where it kind of falls apart again. So this is what I was talking about before. We need a different method. I knew this was going to happen. This is totally expected. Once we get to the next octave up here, we can't use the same R button, right? Because we can only control 2 octaves on our controller instrument, right? So what'll happen is if it does have to go to the next highest octave, which many songs will have more than 2 octaves, what'll happen is inside the app, we will switch the octave automatically. So the user won't have to worry about switching to the higher octave. It's not going to be like a flute or a piano or a guitar where you have to switch to a different string. It'll kind of do it for you. You're only going to be controlling 2 active octaves at any given moment. And that's just to kind of make it manageable. Because, we only have so many buttons. And we don't have, control, like when you're playing a trumpet or a flute, you can control the octave based on your stream of for a trumpet, like your how do I say, if you're a trumpet player, you know what I'm talking about, but like how quickly you vibrate your lips for a trumpet, or how focused the stream is for like a flute. So it will change the octave. You have control over that, but on this you can only control 1, so we need to have another way. Plus it's more scalable if you can just kind of switch it automatically. So this is good. This is good. So we're making progress. Okay. So now what we need to do is this one's fine. Because this is, well, no, it's not. Because this actually needs to be, an octave. Yeah. So we kind of need to go against the code that we wrote to make these not octaves in the first place. So let's think about this for a minute. Now, our last note is a high octave note. And this note is a top note, right? Because top note is Y. That's the top note in the scale. Even though it's got a 5 there, it's a C5. If you look at a scale, there's a C on the bottom and a C on the top, and the top one is 1 whole octave higher. So even though it's technically a higher octave, it's not, it needs to have that octave button. Otherwise, that note, if I play it, is going to be a C4, right? Because you need to hold the octave, like, right? So C4 down here has no octave, and this C5, if I just play it, is C4. But if I hold the R, that's the actual octave. So I need to make sure that this is doing that, and I think at the same time, that's the moment. Is that the moment? I'm thinking, when do I define that high octave is now false? It's probably on the next note here, actually, not here. So here we're just going to say it's a north note. Yes, we know that. That's good. Now we need to make sure, we need to make sure it also has an octave. So let's think about it. Oh yeah, Lito, so I left some comments on your YouTube videos. I don't think they showed up. I think I might have left two. One on one video and one on another. I left one tonight just about Unity actually, and I did see it at first, and then I tried to edit it slightly, and then it just said like you couldn't edit it, and I refreshed and it was gone. So yeah, not sure why. How long have I been streaming now? Wow, it's been almost 2 hours. Holy moly, that went fast. Jeez. Well, that's fine. The way I look at it is I'm gonna be doing this anyways, so if anyone, even one person wants to watch, I am perfectly happy to continue streaming. Only stipulation is if you are watching, just say hi, you know, just let's chat. Let's chat. Distract me, please. Okay. All right. So this note is a 5. Last note is a 4. This note's a 5. Okay, let's take a look here real quick. So this is C5, last one's a C4. It's right here. So it's saying top note number 1. So it's saying this is the top note code that's telling it to be a top note. So this is where it's being set. So we just need to, in this code, we basically need to tell it that, you know, this is no longer true, right? Because we're not, this isn't what we want. We don't want it to be the, no, we do want it to be the north. And if anyone watching, you know, does code even a little bit and you have ideas, I'm all ears, because man, oh man, I've been working on this for the last few days and this whole thing just scrambles my brain. Okay, so, let's just think about this. We don't want to change it from a north note, the Y button, because that's what we want, right? We want it to be that button, but we also want it to have an octave. So I think we keep this code intact. We don't change this code because that code is fine. But we want to put an if for the augment. And I'm thinking, it's almost the same, because if we change anything here, it's gonna return to being a down arrow, which we don't want. We want it to be the top of the scale, which is the Y button. So another if statement. I think we're gonna basically check almost the same thing, but So last note has the octave. Last note is a lower octave. And will that always be true? Yeah, because if we look at the 3 to 4 jump, well, if it's a Y, it will be the same octave. Alright, if you're just joining the stream here, welcome, first off. And second, I am struggling through my code to try and solve an issue I've been having. You know, I kind of wonder though, now that we have this one thing fixed, I kind of wonder if any of the songs will work properly now, so maybe I can actually try it. Because I think we're almost back to where I was with my original code, but my original code was not good. So let me just make sure, because I changed it quite a bit where you can have multiple key signatures now. So if we take a look here, I'll just say this is C major. Okay. Let's see if this works. Oh, you know what? You want to know what? It's not going to work because I haven't accounted for sharps. Ugh. So we're not quite back at the point where I can actually play songs just yet. I think if I... Oops, that was a comment, not code. I think if I put that in, it'll partially work. I don't think sharp octaves will work. But if I do that, and then if I do that, this note has sharp, and this note has, no, octave. Has octave? God, what did I call it? Gosh. High octave. Node object has sharp equals true. Oh. Oh, it also needs to set the augment. So that's, if it has a sharp, give it a sharp. If it has a sharp and a high octave, give it a sharp octave. So this is like, I'm just interfacing with a bunch of code that I wrote before. That's why it seems like everything kind of just hooks up together. It's because I've already done all that stuff. Okay, well, I've got sharps. Do I have octaves? No. Weird. Oh, but those are... Yeah, this should be... Darn. So we're not quite ready for prime time yet. Right, so you can see here, this is a 4, but that should be, right, because if I actually dig into this and look at the note, it's a C sharp 4. Right, so it's the bottom of the scale, and it's gonna play it as a C sharp 3 because there needs to be like it's gonna play it as this. It needs to play it as this because the previous note is an A sharp 3, and this will go down to a C sharp 3. It needs to be C sharp 4. Oh, okay. Fun. I gotta use the bathroom really quick, so I'll be right back. I have returned. Okay, maybe let's think about why this isn't working right here, huh? So, what are the conditions here? The last note is a lower octave and a different note. So, which one of our statements? Well, I guess I can look at this. Let's look for the first instance. That's going to be a C4, C sharp 4, the first C sharp 4 that we see. Oh, wait a minute, do I not? C4. Please tell me I'm actually tracking. Yeah, they don't have sharp. Okay. We'll just put in this note is sharp. So it'll be C true 4. I can change. You can. No, yeah, you can. So I changed the title of my video. Rhythm Game Dev Session, Watch Me Struggle. Yep, that is exactly what I'm doing. Okay, let's get back to it. Okay, so I have now set the just printing whether this note should be oh, it's the wrong song. Excuse me. I moved my head away from the mic to cough. I've been going for over 2 hours now. Wow, that's crazy. It doesn't feel like 2 hours. It feels like I just started. It's probably because I barely got anything done. So. What I was talking about. D true 3. So the true just means whether or not that note has a sharp attached to it. It's a little weird when you read it, but D true 3 means D sharp 3. So I'm looking for where I have the first instance of a C sharp 4, which you read as a C true 4, which is a little strange. This note D true 4, C true 4, right here. Okay. So what I'm trying to figure out is why does this note have an octave up? It should, right? Because the last note is less than this one, and it's a different. Well, it's less than this one. So in our code. This should return true. Maybe, here's what I'll do. I'll put a print in. This is a good way to just debug things. This is high. This is high. Let's just say that. This is high. All right. So you see here it is returning. So we are running this code, and I think the problem is that it's what? So it's weird because if this returns true, it should get the octave up. It's not a top note. That's the print that makes it. Well, that's different. Huh. So nothing, 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 nothing. This is the first one, which is the D true 4. Afterwards, so it's not printing for the C4 but just the D4, but even the D4 is not getting an octave up, which it should. It's this one. It has a sharp and an octave. This is the first instance of it. That's the one we're looking at. So why? It's something in my logic. Note is an A3, A sharp 3. It's being told it's not a top note. Oh, I see. So this one returns true, and then this one gets skipped. I see. That's the problem. I think I'll stream until this playlist I'm listening to is done. It's got about an hour left, so I'll be on for another hour. I will likely continue working on this even after that, but I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit, my throat's a little bit dry. I don't normally talk this much. Okay. So let's take a look. So basically, what we're trying to figure out right here, if I were to sum it up, yeah. So this occurs here, which gives it a high octave true. I mean, it should still give it an octave. So I don't understand what the hell is going on here. That doesn't make any sense. Right? I mean, this C sharp 4, which is this one, it's giving the not a top note code, which is this one, which gives it a down button. Yup. And it gives it a freaking octave. Which means it should have the R button there too. So what gives? Oh. You know what I need to do? Okay, I'm gonna do something a little crazy here. I'm gonna wrap this whole block in a if statement. This is gonna break things. Do I really need to do 2? I don't like this. I really wish I had a little guardian angel on my shoulder that was a pro software engineer and he could just tell me when I'm about to make a terrible mistake, you know? Because I don't have that inside my brain. I just try dumb things and then see what happens. Oh yeah, it can't be else is on top. Let's see how badly this breaks things. Well, oh, I picked the wrong song. Yeah, things are definitely broken. Basically, anytime, as soon as the octave switches up, they're broken. So what I'm thinking is I might need to have 2 of these blocks here. One is if it is high octave, and one's if it's not. Wait, no. There's gotta be a better way. Yeah, there is a better way. Just undo that. I'll just say if this note has a high octave, as the variable high octave is true, set the augment to true, else if, and I can put it as an else, not high octave. Wait, if it's, yeah. Well, I don't actually think I need the else if. Hold on. Where did I put the not? If is high octave. Man, this must be so riveting to watch me in Visual Studio. So if this note, or if this has high octave value, set the octave augment on the note. And then none of these get returned true because why? Why? Well, let's do a recap because I feel like I've hit a bit of a wall. I don't want to keep banging my head against the wall here because that is just going to result in frustration. So let's do a recap. What did we actually do tonight? What were we able to accomplish? Well, if I hit the play button, let's see what we accomplished. So we were able to successfully, in code, figure out when you've reached the next scale. So in this case, so it's here. Oops. And then some stuff, and then you get to the next scale there, which is the R button. All the way up to here. We were successfully able to do that. However, we were not able to successfully tell these notes that they're no longer octave notes because they need to now switch. So we are making progress. There were some issues with the way that songs are now rendering some of the older songs, so I'm definitely gonna have to go back and check the sharp code that I have written to make sure that sharps are properly being placed. Let me just open that. So that's going to be the Heart of Excitement song is a good example. There's a lot of flats in there. So you can see they do appear, however the augmented versions don't appear. So there's something going on there. It's not quite working as it should. So I'll have to figure that out. Yeah, so there's been some progress tonight, which is good. I wasn't sure how much I could actually get done live streaming, but you got to see me struggle a little bit. I think maybe a lot. You got to see me struggle a lot, because I definitely felt the struggle when I'm looking at a bunch of if-else statements that I've created that don't really work properly, because I am not a fantastic programmer. I'm just okay. So yeah, if you are just joining me now, I'm just about to wrap up here. I've been going for over 2 hours now, about 2.5 hours. Wow, that's kind of crazy. I just decided to do it, and here we are 2.5 hours later. If you like this, if you enjoyed it, if this is interesting to you, let me know. If you're watching, if you're coming from Facebook, or if you're just hitting me up on YouTube randomly, or if you know me, let me know. I'm thinking maybe I'll do these on a semi-regular basis. I'm not sure. If people like it, I'm happy to do it because I'm going to be doing this either way. So yeah, it was fun, and perhaps I will be back on tomorrow. We shall see. I will definitely be working on this tomorrow. Whether or not I stream is another thing. So we'll see. Costs me nothing to do it, so maybe I'll just do it. Work on my speaking skills a little bit. All right. Well, if you joined me tonight, thank you so much for joining, and I wish you a fantastic evening.